Well, hello and welcome to tutorial 25 in this series of tutorials designed to help you learn Tradestation easy language. And in this tutorial we're going to be looking at Maxbarsback and the load additional bars that you get in Radarscreen, and why sometimes indicators applied to a chart give a different value from the very same indicator applied to Radarscreen. So to start off, I've created a very simple little indicator here which plots the close of the bar 5 bars ago. It also plots the Maxbarsback, and Maxbarsback is something that we can read into a program, but we can't change it within a program. So let's just apply that to a chart and see what it looks like. And you'll see obviously the Maxbarsback value is a lot lower than the value of this particular futures, and if we just look on that, we'll see that the Maxbarsback has been set to 6. And the reason for that is if we just go format and we look at the analysis technique, which is this one here, you'll see that we're using auto detect, and Tradestation has worked out 6. Now you might be sort of wondering why 6, because surely the value only needs to be 5, and if we just sort of zoom in here, I don't think we're going to be able to see it there. What I'm going to do is just modify the program. I'm just going to comment out the Maxbarsback just briefly, and we'll put it back. We'll reinstate that in a moment before we look at the same thing on Radarscreen. But if we go to the chart here, and you'll see that that value there is actually the close of this bar here. What we could do in fact is go to Format, Analysis Techniques, and just change, rather than using auto detect, we're just going to change that to 5 and say OK, close that, and then you'll see that actually indeed we're getting the close of that very first bar there. Now let's just go back to our program and remove that commenting and press F3 to verify, and now look at the very same thing applied to Radarscreen, and you'll see here that Radarscreen has actually calculated Maxbarsback of 5 slightly differently from the indicator applied to a chart. So if we were to go to Format, Analysis Techniques and look at this a bit more closely, you'll see that you've got this additional thing here called Load Additional Data for Cumulative Calculations, and I would strongly suggest that you might want to click on that button there and just read all about accumulative or smoothed calculations, because these often are the reason why we get this difference between the indicator applied to a chart and indicator applied to Radarscreen. And this little function here, if we click that, we can add additional bars, which means that Radarscreen will use additional bars in making the calculation. But before we look at that more, what I'm going to do is just show you a brief presentation which explains one of the smoothed indicators, and that is the exponential average. So the exponential average calculates as follows. On current bar equals 1, it's set to be equal to price, and I'm using price. It wouldn't need to necessarily be a price, but for the sake of this example we're going to use price. And then on all the other bars, the exponential average is equal to the exponential average of the previous bar plus a smoothing factor multiplied by the price of the bar in question, with the exponential average of the previous bar taken away from it. And if we just multiply that out, we'll see that exponential average is equal to 1 minus the smoothing factor multiplied by the exponential average of the previous bar plus the smoothing factor multiplied by the present price. And we can just experiment a little here and just see how this works. So let's assume that on current bar 1 the price is P1, and we'll put that into the formula to find out what the exponential average would be on bar 2, and that would be equal to 1 minus the smoothing factor times P1, in other words the exponential average of the previous bar, plus the smoothing factor times P2, the price of this bar. And if we just go further, we'll see on bar 3 1 minus s times the exponential average of the previous bar, which is this stuff here, plus the smoothing factor times P3. And if we multiply that out, we'll start to see a pattern emerging. P1 times 1 minus s squared plus P2 times s times 1 minus s plus P3 times s. And we can just go further on the fourth bar. The formula would look like this. And The reason I'm showing this is because with a cumulative type function, part of the value referring to an earlier bar is always going to be within the calculation. It's just that in most cases you're not looking at enough decimal places to actually notice it. But the more bars you have, the more the exponential average would converge to the point it would be if there'd been an infinite number of bars before it. So just to put in some actual values, on the fourth bar the exponential average would be equal to the price of that original bar times 0.512 plus the price of the second bar times 0.18, P3 times 0.16 and P4 times 0.2. So to demonstrate this converging feature of a smoothing function such as the exponential average, what I've done is I've modified the exponential average function a little bit to introduce this start bar. And this, if you look at the Tradestation standard exponential average function, you'll see it's very much like this, apart from I've just added another input, which is the start bar. And instead of setting the current bar to 1, I've set it to start bar. So this thing doesn't start calculating the exponential moving average until it gets to the start bar. And I've applied this using another indicator, and the way this works is value 1 is equal to the modified exponential average starting at bar 1, value 2 modified exponential average starting at bar 5, 3 starting at bar 10 and 4 starting at bar 15. And I've just plotted those on a chart, and furthermore I've created a condition 1, and I've said if essentially if the values rounded to 2 decimal places are all equal to each other from plot 1, 2, 3 and 4, then if condition 1, then we're going to just plot a little asterisk on that particular bar. And then I've also plotted here, just to show you initially, plot 5 is the Maxbarsback. So let's just go to a chart, and let's just press F3 to make sure that's verified. And we're just going to go to a chart, and we're going to turn the status of the first one we were just looking at off. We're going to turn this one on, and we'll see here now, because we've got the Maxbarsback plotted at the bottom, you'll see that you can't really see what's going on, but I did this just to show you that here Maxbarsback is equal to 1. So just bear that in mind, because what we're going to do now is just go back to the indicator, and just going to comment that out and verify it again, and we're now going to look at the chart. And what you will see is that the values are all different initially because they're all starting on different bars, but as we go along you'll see that they get closer and closer and closer and closer, and when all 3 values to 2 decimal places start to converge to be equal, you'll start to see some asterisks being plotted on the chart there. So you can see it takes several bars for that to take effect. So I had hoped to complete this within 10 minutes for the YouTube maximum clip time, but I'm probably going to have to go to a second clip. So anyway, I'm hoping that this has been useful so far. Please look out for a second clip. If you're not part of the marketplace.com mailing list, please join. Thank you very much.